Hello and good evening to you. Welcome to News 360 and it's live more news up here at Adesawa in Kanda. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Ford to look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Chinese plastics company at Asuchere in the Greater Accra region still in operation despite EPA call for shutdown as Osudoku Senior High School gets ready to reopen on Friday.
Also, the Ghana Integrity Initiative wants the special prosecutor to investigate every corruption allegation that has ever been made.
And coming up in business this evening, Ghana's delegation to Asia optimistic of positive gains from ongoing non-deal roadshow.
And all is set for first Ghanaian to compete at the Winter Olympics.
And on the international front this evening, South Africa President Jacob Zuma says he will not resign as president in defiance of the call by the African National Congress for him to step down.
We'll bring you these stories and more tonight here on News 360. Feel free to join us with your thoughts as we go on in the bulletin. But our first story this evening, for residents of Kulung in the Wa East District of the Upper West region, water is prized commodity. Bryce Nanamfo reports residents scoop unwholesome water from a pond for use. As a borehole the community constructed is yet to produce fresh water.
This is what residents of Kulung here in the Upper West region rely on. This is usually source, and at this time of the year when it is dried up, there is indeed a huge problem for them. Women, children, and everyone in the community relies on this kind of water from this stagnant pool. It starts from right behind me and trips here, and it gathers. I'm told that it takes hours for it to gather to the level that it can be scooped into their receptacles or containers. Residents of Kulung are really distressed. Water is a prized commodity, a challenge they are battling to deal with.
And drilled 2 boreholes, and none of them is serving water. So the community contributes 100 million. So, and we drill a borehole. It was water, but we don't have money to buy the hairs and then the pipes.
Very worrying situation there. We'll certainly be following up on the situation and bringing you more on it in subsequent bulletins. But let's turn to some other stories now. Member of Parliament for Bolgatangwa Central, Isaac Adongo, says some figures churned out by the President in the State of the Nation address are inaccurate. He was contributing to the President's State of the Nation address on the floor of Parliament.
How can you, as a government, decide to submit sole source contracts on your own, increase the values of those contracts and submit them to EPA, turn around to get PPA to tell you that you are being fraudulent with inflated contracts, and then you sum those ones up and say you have saved the country money from your own fraudulent conduct? How can that be a way of saving money? The liquidity of the banking sector in 2016 ended the year at 22%. Under this leadership of the incompetent economic management team, it declined to 16.7%, even after issuing this Uhudrious energy bond. Mr. Speaker, private sector credit that propels the private sector to be able to generate growth and jobs declined from 14.4% under the incompetent NDC to 12.8%, and the president is celebrating lack of credit to the private sector. Again, non-performing loans that they claimed they were going to address stood at 17.3% at the end of 2016. Today, under this incompetent government, it has increased to 22.9%. Mr. Speaker, how can the president look us in the face and celebrate this incompetence and mediocrity? This same leadership, they are projecting that in 2018 it won't get better. It will grow by 5.84%. They are still projecting that in 2019, this same economy will grow again by 5.9%. And again, they are still projecting that by 2020, the economy will grow by 6%. How can that be a brilliant leadership of an economist? When a non-economist was dealing with 7.6 to 8.3, this economist, even over a period of 3 years, will still be struggling with 6% growth of the Ghanaian economy. If the vice president heading the economic management team is not a constitutional imperative, he should be reshuffled immediately, completely away from heading the economic management team to save Ghana from this incompetence and mediocrity.
The Ministry of Youth and Sports, the infamous Ministry of Youth and Sports, submitted a claim of 89.9 million Ghana cedis. Only 172,000 was certified. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Communication, under which the NCA comes, Ministry of Communication, they submitted a claim of 23.4 million cedis. Same was rejected. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Energy submitted a claim of 596 million. 307 million Ghana cedis was rejected. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Transport, where the bus branding took place, they submitted a claim of 31.2 million. Mr. Speaker, 14 million Ghana cedis was rejected. So, Mr. Speaker, governments are elected to ensure that the country benefits from their rule. And this is what the government of the NPP and the Kufuor are doing. A saving of a whopping 5.4 billion Ghana cedis as a result of prudence, diligence, and this value for money audit.
The debate continues on Thursday, February 15.
Well, let's just say in Parliament, Mr. Moran, it's Chocolate Day and members of Parliament were not left out of the celebration. A stand was mounted in Parliament where MPs were served with chocolate drink. In a statement to mark the day, the Minister of Tourism, Creative Arts and Culture, Catherine Afeko, said a museum being built at Mampong in the eastern region will honor Tetteh Quarshie, the man who brought cocoa to Ghana.
It is unparliamentary to eat in the chamber and in the public gallery, but MPs broke that rule on Chocolate Day. Chocolates and toffees were distributed to members on the floor, and some could not resist from eating. The Speaker reminded members of the rules.
Nibbling is allowed, so it's a matter of how you gingerly go about sucking rather than eating. It is in the rules and the practices, well settled. So just adopt the style and you may proceed.
The Speaker then urged that chocolate be given to school children who had paid a visit to Parliament. A statement was made by the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts on the day. She said a museum in Mampong will honor Tetteh Quarshie, the man who brought cocoa to Ghana.
It is expected that a year from now, when we celebrate our annual Chocolate Day, we will be back in Mampong, Akuapem, to outdoor a modern facility that takes visitors through the entire production chain of chocolate, from farm to supermarket.
In contributing to the statement, some MPs noted the benefits of chocolate.
Eating cocoa or taking chocolates will not increase
our cholesterol levels. In fact, it's known that it rather reduce our cholesterol levels. It will protect us against hypertension and diabetes. Mr. Speaker, those who waste their time on other aphrodisiacs and things that will enhance them, taking a hot cup of cocoa would even enhance your libido, your performance as a Ghanaian.
In as much as this museum is coming up, for so many years and decades, the people of Mampong Akwapim have been able to hold the cocoa, producing it before it got to other places of our country.
The minority and majority leaders emphasized the need to encourage young people to recognize the day as Chocolate Day and not Valentine's Day.
The young ones that you have referred to, they still are associated with 14th February, Valentine's Day. They still associate it with romantic love. It could be to your wife, it could be to your children, it could be to girlfriends, to those who have them. I'm not interested in asking in what quantities or how, in what numbers they may have them. That we share the joy and romance. Chocolate is meant for them to know that as we grow, we must show affection and love.
Let me dissociate myself from the statement made by the minority leader when he said that people may wish their girlfriends apart from their wives. Happy Valentine's Day. The Speaker, far it be from me. For those of us who can openly declare that our hands are clean, we can only wish our loved ones happy Valentine's Day.
Second Deputy Speaker Alban Bagbin suggested more be done for Tete Kwashi, the man who brought cocoa from Fernando Po.
Well, certainly MPs breaking the rules of the House there, but in the name of Chocolate Day, so it's all well and good. Now, a groundbreaking ceremony has been performed for the construction of a $3 million Tete Kwashi Cocoa Museum at Mampong Equiapem in the eastern region. The facility, when completed, would facilitate the promotion of consumption of cocoa products as well as boost domestic tourism.
The $3 million Cocoa Museum is to honor Tete Kwashi, the native who is credited to have cultivated the first cocoa farm in Ghana. The museum is expected to bring to life a typical cocoa farmhouse and an exhibition center which will showcase the history, tools and background of cocoa farming in Ghana, as well as a boutique for the retail of cocoa products. The Sector Minister, Catherine Ablima Afeku, said cocoa processing companies have made funds available to support the project, expected to be completed within 2 years.
If you go to Pennsylvania, Hershey has something similar where you can go there, you look at what is happening, but they buy the beans from us. So for us, it's a testament of what we can do as a people. And the most important thing, it's not government dishing out money from government of Ghana coffers, but the people in the industry, private sector, those who have benefited from cocoa as an industry. And it's a big area that should employ more people, but it's not just the actual museum's employment, it's the value chain.
The ministry and its agencies called on the traditional authorities in the area and sought for their cooperation for a successful completion of the project. The minister assured them benefit for the custodial landowners.
Let's still stay on the reason for today, and this is a chocolate day. We've been enjoying chocolate over the period, but the price of local commodities has been cited as the reason why some Ghanaians shun patronage of local goods. As Ghana celebrates the chocolate day today, has the price impacted on the patronage of chocolates? Let's find out.
I didn't have to go far. Within TV3, I decided to pick up the thought of my colleagues on their consumption rate and pricing.
I bought the very small one I think that is the smallest among the sizes. I told the person I was working with that this is very expensive because if you look at the size and the amount, at the first sight of it, you would think that this would be less than 2 cedis.
I bought King's Bites, the large size of King's Bites, and it was 6 cedis. But I do think that it's quite pricey because in as much as even I can purchase it, and I might want it a bit more often than I actually do purchase it, because 6 cedi, and at some places I've purchased it for 7. I think, say, for the ordinary Ghanaian, it's quite on the high side.
I don't remember I have ever bought chocolate.
Why?
I think it is too expensive. The local chocolate, too expensive.
I would have preferred for it to be slightly cheaper. Maybe the big one can be 5 cedi, but the medium one should be, maybe 3 cedi is okay. That's if you want it to appeal to all classes of people.
For no reason, some simply did not have any interest in the cocoa product at all.
I'm not a fan of chocolate, I would say.
Is price not a factor?
No, pricing is not a factor. Good nutritionally, but I just don't buy it.
At least, this gives an idea of the general consumption of chocolate in the country. With the aim of increasing consumption of the product, Valentine's Day in Ghana has been changed to Chocolate Day. Like any other year, this year there was an event by the Ghana Tourism Authority to celebrate the day.
What we've gathered to do today is to add value to the cocoa pod that in 1879 our ancestor brought to us.
On the theme, Eat Ghana, Eat Chocolate, my interest was how the prices of chocolate can be reduced and still meet the quality of production, so at least my colleagues can enjoy chocolate each day.
Now, any product produced in the free zone area is an exportable product, and therefore they attract export duty. And that's what is causing the high price of cocoa products, that's including chocolate. So CPC has brought this to our notice, and we've taken it to our board of directors, that CPC should go outside the free zone and then produce products, cocoa products, for local consumption.
Ghana currently has an installed capacity of cocoa processing capacity of 450,000 metric tons, but currently processes about 250,000 metric tons. TV3, Kwabna Edu Jenfi.
Well, let's turn our attention away from Chocolate Day now, as President Akufo-Addo has hinted of changing the name of Flagstaff House to Jubilee House in the next few weeks. The president was receiving the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs in Accra.
The President Akufo-Addo gave the hint when he received members of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs at the Flagstaff House in Accra.
I'm sure and hope that it will not be the last, and that this our Flagstaff House, soon to be Jubilee House properly, will be honored and privileged again to host a delegation from the Upper West here.
The discussions also focused on improving the road network and providing other education infrastructure for institutions in the region. The delegation, led by the President of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs, Kuru Richard Babeni Canton, called for autonomy for the WA campus of the Investor Development Studies in Tamale, while stressing on the need to roll out policies focused on developing the shea nut industry in the area. Kuru Canton reiterated the region's commitment to the various flagship programs of the government.
Through the fertilizer subsidy of the Planting for Food and Jobs program, money has been put in people's pockets. Our region is on record to have had the largest number of beneficiaries under the first phase of the Planting for Food and Jobs.
He again appealed to the president to convert the WA Polytechnic into a technical university. The president, Nana Akufo-Addo, assured them of getting their grievances addressed in due course. He pledged his commitment to get other developmental projects, including the WA Regional Hospital and airport, completed.
The WA Airport is essentially complete. That is the information that I have from the Minister for Aviation. And basically now we're just waiting for a time to officially commission it and then bring it into use. The information that I have is that the completion of the hospital forms part of this year's budget of the Ministry of Health. In the course of this year, on that matter too, you should get some joy.
He once again assured the chiefs to mobilize resources in the next 6 months to strengthen security in the country.
In the next 6 months, our anticipation is that there will be a very clear, visible, dramatic enhancement of the capability of our police services so that they can protect all of us the better.
Meanwhile, the president, Akufo-Addo, has left for Nigeria to attend a one-day Catholic Bishops' Conference. He went on the invitation of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, led by Reverend Dr. Matthew Hassan Kuka. His two-day conference will seek to deliver a lecture on transformative governance. He will again be the keynote speaker on the theme, How to Make Democracy Work for Africa. He's expected back to Ghana Thursday, February 15th. And to some other stories tonight, where the Criminal Investigations Department of the police has blamed the recent Kwabenya attacks on investigators who did not know their job. Now, the Director General of Police, CID, DCOP Mame Tewa Adodankwa, admitted none of the CID personnel there had formal training in criminal investigations.
The 6-week training course for selected CID officers in Accra is a first this year. It is to equip detectives and investigators with investigative skills. They were also to be taken through criminal law and human rights, among others. In her opening remarks, the Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department, DCOP Mame Tewa Adodankwa, lamented the absence of regular training programs, which she said affects the quality of investigations.
And even within Accra region, we have only 30% of investigators who have actually been trained. So when you move to the regions, Upper East, Upper West, you can have maybe one trained investigator manning the whole district. And as investigator, one thing that you need to do when you are doing serious case like armed robbery is to profile the suspect. You take their fingerprints, you take their pictures, and you take the pictures in such a way that you take the front, you take the side, and then you take the back. When we had this Kwabenya incident, one thing that came out was that we didn't have the 7th person's picture. Initially, I thought the investigators didn't do their work well. But when I inquired, I realized that they have not been trained. Do you blame them? If you don't know, you can't do it.
DCOP Adodankwa was at a loss as to why no one picked up intelligence about the impending attack on Kwabenya, which was planned from the cell over a period of time.
How come Kwabenya was attacked and nobody had a clue? Do we have our intelligence system working? Do we talk to people? And we are told that people were discussing it in the cells, but we didn't know. All that we got to know was that Kwabenya was attacked. As investigators, we should move away from reactive policing to proactive. Why do we have to wait for crimes to be committed before we run going after suspects? Is there something that we can do to even prevent the crime from happening in the first place? You need to have a broad mind.
The training will cover areas such as the law of evidence, suspect-police relations, and statements taking.
Let's stay on matters of security, as the Ghana Police Service has established a diplomatic support directorate to attend to security needs of embassies and missions in the country. Inspector General of Police David Asante appeared to announce this at an interaction with security attachés of diplomatic missions in Ghana.
The Joint Media and Security Attachés interaction was the first by the police service. It was aimed at bringing the various experts together to share ideas. It attracted military and police attachés from several embassies and missions in Ghana, as well as representatives from IOCO, NACOP, BNI, and the media, among others. A number of guests, took turns to give their impressions about the event and offered varying suggestions on security tips. Addressing the gathering at the Police Officers' Mess National Police Training School, the Inspector General of Police, David Asante-Apietu, revealed new measures in fighting crime.
The Ghana Police Service has established a diplomatic support directorate to attend to security needs of embassies and missions in Ghana. The directorate is under the command of a Director General who has been elevated to be a member of the Police Management and Advisory Board, the highest decision-making body of the service.
David Asante-Apietu also spoke about the need to collaborate and coordinate efforts in dealing with crime.
Crime and criminal activities have no regard for national boundaries. Transnational and cross-border crimes have become well-coordinated and pervasive more than ever. Criminal networks are getting more organized, resourced, and sophisticated. There is a need to strengthen cooperation whilst coordinating efforts to confront these threats.
Of the event and the Director General of Criminal Investigation Department, DCOP Mami Tiwa Adodankwa, called on the public to support the transformational agenda with constructive criticism and counsels.
Now, 2 tricksters found at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle have been jailed 9 months for fraud. Now, the 2 were convicted on their own plea by an Accra Circuit Court for defrauding by false pretense.
Taufik Sule and Isahaku Ibrahim initially pleaded not guilty to defrauding by false pretenses. The prosecution told the court, presided over by Victoria Kwanzaa, that the victims connived to dupe a lady of her Infinix phone and 40 cedis. Narrating the story, the prosecutor said the 2 convinced the lady to swap her Infinix phone for a Samsung Galaxy 7X. However, the phone turned out to be a piece of floor tile. Isahaku Ibrahim then emerged from nowhere and offered to assist the lady locate Sule. He then asked the lady to give him the fake phone, which she refused. An attempt by Isahaku to forcefully take the phone from the lady attracted members of the Circle Neighborhood Watch Committee, resulting in the arrest of Isahaku and Sule. The suspects were later charged with defrauding by false pretenses. Though the convicts were fined 200 penalty units, an equivalent of 240 cedis each, they were unable to pay and were jailed 9 months.
The Neighborhood Watch Committee at Circle now is trying as much as they can to be able to erase the erroneous perception and the bad perception that has tarnished Circle. So you too, as a buyer, try as much as you can to do due diligence. Go to accredited shops and do your purchase. So if we continue to buy from the accredited shops I continue to talk about, then it means that these people who walk around looking for who to dupe will not have business to do.
Now, the Supreme Court, presided over by a single judge, Justice Yao Apau, has quashed an earlier decision by the Court of Appeal, refusing human rights lawyer Francis Sosu an application to stay of execution. The Supreme Court therefore granted leave for the lawyer to file an appeal against the punishment handed to him by the General Legal Counsel.
In the judgment of the Apex Court, Justice Yao Apau stated it will be an abuse of the fundamental human rights of the lawyer if he is not given the opportunity to be heard at a higher level apart from the disciplinary committee over his 3-year suspension. The court went ahead to order the applicant to file his processes within the next 7 days for the case to be heard by the Supreme Court. It will be recalled that the General Legal Counsel banned Francis Sosu from practicing for 3 years on 2 major offenses, including overcharging a client. The counsel further stated he flouted the professional conduct and rules by advertising his legal firm's name and address on social media platforms. victims. He disagreed with the decision of the council and proceeded to the Court of Appeal to quash the suspension, but decided to again file a motion seeking to halt the implementation of the suspension before the substantive matter was heard. But in July last year, the court presided over by Justice Henry Anthony Kofi dismissed the motion pending determination of the substantive appeal case. The judge indicated the jurisdiction of the court had not been properly revoked.
So live on News 360, there's a lot more to come in the bulletin. You want to stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
It's still News 360. Good evening and thanks for staying with us. Let's do business now. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. An economist, Dr. Lord Mensah, says the impending increase in the U.S. federal rate should encourage governments to diversify the sources of its next Eurobond. Now, his assertion follows the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, leading a government delegation on a non-deal roadshow in Asia to attract investors.
There is the anticipation the United States will increase its policy rate this year to encourage domestic investments, and this is anticipated to affect the rate at which U.S. investors will lend outside the country. Speaking to TV3 Business, economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Lord Mensah, stated it is prudent for government to look at investors in emerging markets. He mentioned such investments will attract a good rate when it is ready to issue a Eurobond. Dr. Mensah explained that such a move will affect the build-up of the cost of lending.
If you understand the global markets very well, once you diversify your sources of funding, you are likely to bring your interest rates down. Looking at the management we have, they see it to be prudent, to look at the Asian market, the Asian sources. And then if you diversify the sources to that Asian market, their interest rate is a bit down.
He maintained it is prudent for government to always work at reducing the cost of funds it borrows from the international market.
Those economies have, more or less a lot of reserves, okay, which, they can easily invest at a lower cost. One is as a result of, funds availability, and then two, diversity in sourcing for funds. And possibly all this working towards bringing interest rate down for the nation.
All right, so in more stories tonight, MTN Ghana is targeting to collect 2,750 units of blood. It's Save a Life blood donation campaign. Now, the annual event gives individuals the opportunity to voluntarily donate blood in the month of love to save a life. This year's edition of MTN's Save a Life blood donation forms part of activities marking the 10th anniversary of MTN Ghana Foundation. Beginning with 3 bleeding centers in Accra, Takoradi and Kumasi, the blood donation has been extended to all 10 regions of Ghana. Through the campaign, many lives have been saved, with some 6,226 pints of blood collected voluntarily over the years.
When we started it, it was just 3 bleeding centers that we had. But now, we've been able to get 16 bleeding centers, and this is being held across 10 regions in Ghana. And so as you can see, it's expanding. We are hoping to collect 2,750 pints of blood.
The public, workers and some students trooped into the forecourt of MTN head office to donate. Meet Michael Abuaji Constance, a 16-time donor. This donation makes it the 17th.
My motivation is knowing the blood I donate is going to save a life somewhere. And knowing my blood saves a life is enough motivation to do this over and over again.
This is my first time, and I thought I was going to be scared, but I'm okay. I feel okay, and it feels good. I'm going to save someone's life.
Pala Esidu Ofori is acting corporate services executive of MTN Ghana.
We want to increase the voluntary aspect of giving blood, because for now, the friends and family aspect contributes like 64% of blood donation within Ghana. So we'd like to encourage everyone to come and join us to give blood. It's a good cause, it's a worthy cause. And which better way to show your love on Valentine's Day than to save a life, to give blood to save a life?
The theme for the anniversary celebration is celebrating 10 years of brightening lives, inspiring a brighter future.
Alright, so once we're donating blood, remember it's happening here on Saturday at the forecourt of TV3 at 8 a.m. You should also come donate blood to save a life. Away from that, financial analyst Ben Amoah Adjei has backed a research indicating that the central bank's fast pace of monetary policy easing is expected to slow down this year due to high inflationary pressures. Now, the research conducted by Group Indum Research forecasted world inflation is expected to increase, reflecting higher prices of oil and other goods and services. At the first MPC meeting for 2018, the central bank maintained the policy rate at 20%, citing a rise in inflationary pressures, the same reason GN Research is attributing in its forecast. According to GN Research, the United States of America, especially, is expected to record increased inflation pressure in 2018. Also, the expected weak performance of the dollar should translate into stronger performance of the pound and euro due to increased sustainability. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana last year reduced the policy rate by a cumulative 550 basis points, with the trend tipped to continue in 2018. But GN Research is forecasting a slowdown in the rate of reduction. Commenting on the forecast, financial analyst Ben Amoah Adjei said world inflation is expected to increase, reflecting higher prices of oil and other goods and services.
Central Bank's governor at the last MPC meeting themselves stated that their expectation for inflation to fall within the target band, between 6 and 10%, has moved from the first quarter to the second quarter. And if nothing at all, that alone is a sign of a central bank that is a little anxious about how quickly inflation is falling. And as we all know, Ghana's central bank is actually inflation targeting, which means that every decision they take is actually hugely linked to their expectations of inflation. And so if they expect inflation to fall slower, then obviously the MPC rate is also likely to fall slower.
He further indicated the Federal Reserve of the United States has already given indication that it will increase its rates throughout the year in a move to manage the inflationary pressure and also to strengthen the dollar. He further indicated that the Federal Reserve of the United States has already given indication that it will increase its rates throughout the year in a move to manage the inflationary pressure and also to strengthen the dollar.
Inflation is expected to pick up in most of these developed economies, including the US, Europe, and perhaps even in China. The issue is that normally results in capital outflows, because when inflation starts going up in those countries will raise interest rates, draw monies out of emerging economies like our own, and there's a risk to cedi depreciation. And so what we would do in that case is we keep our monetary policy rate high. We might not raise it, but at least keep it constant so that at least to continue to attract investors into our economy.
And talking about inflationary pressures, inflation rates for January was 10.3%, down by 1.5% from the 11.8% recorded in December last year. Now, the acting government statistician Ba Awade attributed this decrease to a fall in prices of major food and non-food items, especially those produced locally.
Inflation measures the sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. Though inflation ended on a higher note in 2017, 2018 started with a drop of 10.3%. The rate for January is the percentage change in the Consumer Price Index from January 2017 to January 2018. The acting government statistician Ba Awade attributed the drop to a reduction in the price of food and non-food items.
If we compare the rates, as you can see from the index, to the previous month, that is from the December to January, the index went up. But if we compare to the situation a year ago, we realize that reduction in the inflation rate.
The food and non-alcoholic beverages group recorded a year-on-year inflation rate of 6.8%. Some of the main price reduction were from fish and seafood, vegetables, oil and fats, meat and meat products. The non-food group recorded a year-on-year inflation rate of 12.0%, with main drivers coming from items such as transport, recreation and culture, clothing and footwear. At the regional level, Upper West recorded the highest rate of inflation of 12.1%, followed by the Bunahafo with 11.2%. Upper East recorded the lowest rate of 7.8%. Inflation has eased since 2017.
It's eased in January 2018. The inflation rate for the locally items remain lower than that of the imported items.
A downward trend in inflation is good for planning and price setting.
For us whose incomes are static or fairly static, there's not too much pressure on our purchasing power, so we can plan better. I think it goes for most businesses as well. It goes for interest rates. The Bank of Ghana uses this for the fixing of the base rates and for the financial sector. A lot of institutions and international bodies also use the inflation rate to adjust salaries and other emoluments of their workers.
And that's it for business. We return with more on News 360.
Well, in the segment tonight, we say love is certainly in the air as loved ones are celebrating Valentine's Day today. One celebrity marriage that has been able to stand the test of time is that of Deportivo star Sule Ali Muntari and former beauty queen Menaye Donko Muntari. What really keeps the marriage together and alive? Menaye has been sharing that secret with us.
Football star Sule Muntari and former beauty queen Menaye Donko's marriage is a classic example of a celebrity union that has been able to stand the test of time. Menaye is in Ghana with Sule somewhere in Europe. How did they celebrate the Valentine's Day?
I think the day started as normal. My husband is not here at the moment, but we spoke. He said he has a surprise for me later on, so I'm waiting to see what he sends to me. But it's just a normal day, you know. I don't think we should always just set a day aside to express how much we care for one another, but it should be consistent, and that's the key to our relationship.
Menaye grabs every opportunity to express love for Sule, and that's a major key to growing their relationship. The Canadian-born Ghanaian businesswoman has learned not to allow others come in between her and Sule, who she described as great, weird, and lovely.
He's a great guy, and I posted this thing earlier on social media where, like, I think love is when two weird people come together and they create weirdness together, and you know, they fall mutually in love in a weird way. And I think we're both very weird in our own special way, but it makes it interesting because every day you get to learn about this person. Sule is a very unique human being. He has a great heart, and I think it's just how we relate with one another and not thinking about what people are saying or whatever the outside world would like to view our, you know, relationship.
Was that one thing that Menaye loves about Sule?
I like the fact that he's a very laid-back person. He doesn't need to impress anyone. He is who he is. And the fact that he loves me, you know, and he shows it in a very, you know, little ways. You know, when the makeup is off, when she's being silly, when she's being annoying at home, that's true love.
What is the one thing that you know that he really likes about you?
The fact that I'm honest. You know, I think when you're with someone, especially a person of his stature, he is in the limelight, and the fact that you have a lot of friends come around and they don't tell you the truth. I am very straight to the point and honest, and as much as sometimes he doesn't like it, he knows that he can rely on me when it comes to the truth and being honest with him.
And if you can, make it a point to always surprise your loved one. It's really working for the Muntaris.
I think for me, what I did was I surprised him once. He had a game and I flew out there to surprise him. And I think for him, he is always surprising me. Like, he continuously surprises me. He gets my face tattooed on his body, and he does really silly things, but He's crazy. Crazy in love.
Okay.
Certainly a beautiful relationship there that many would desire. Next on News 360 is some international news. And in some news just in this evening, on the international front, Zimbabwe's main opposition leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, has died in South Africa. Tsvangirai, 65, a former prime minister, had reportedly been suffering from colon cancer. Tsvangirai's career was marked by a long political struggle against former President Robert Mugabe. He had been beaten and imprisoned numerous times under former President Robert Mugabe. Tsvangirai was born in 1952 in the village of Buhera, about 200 kilometers south of the capital, Harare.
Which is sad. He couldn't achieve that aim of being president. But anyway, thank you for staying with us as we wish you so rest in perfect peace. On behalf of the rest of the team, we're grateful. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Fort. Visit our website, 3news.com, for some more news. And news at 10 later this evening will simulcast on our sister station, 3FM 92.7. Thanks so much for watching. Have an incredible evening.